Cool. So here we are, the Helping Friendly podcast. We're doing a video chat recapping the first 8 or 9 shows of the tour. We have a wide array of guests that you can see on the screen here. They are from all walks of life and all forms of facial hair, besides me. The big. Let's actually start from largest facial hair and go down. So Jonathan, you get to go first. Introduce yourself. What, Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jonathan, at Roj on Twitter, and I haven't seen any fish yet this year.
Brad, I think, has the next most facial hair, but everyone knows Brad. So Stephen Grip is a first time guest. Welcome back to the internet and to this chat.
Thank you for inviting me. Grip.Steven from Austin, Texas. Took a year hiatus from the interwebs, but now I'm back. Streamed, listened to all the shows, got to catch Austin, so would be interested to hear people's opinions on Austin. But just ready to chat it up.
Nice. And Zach, introduce yourself.
Why? Everyone already knows who I am.
Yeah, perfect. Matt.
Yeah. I'm Matt, the Real Burnham on Twitter, from Austin, Texas. I petitioned hard for the Texas shows, went to see Austin and Dallas.
Nice. Awesome. So we have a couple other people joining us. We have Mike Ferguson, who's hopefully going to join us, who went to Bend, and we should start there. We have a lot to talk about, but I don't know. I guess Stephen Burnham and Zach, you guys were all at the Texas shows, and I know that was a big attraction for a lot of people, and including Zach traveling there, but you guys getting to see them in their hometown. Burnham, why don't you kick it off and talk a little bit about what it was like to have Fish finally come back to Texas, and you've streamed everything, you've been watching everything. What was it like to have him come back there?
So, kind of put me on the spot there. I moved to Texas 10 years ago, and in 2006, early 2006, and Fish has played only one show in Texas in that entire time. ACL 2010, did a festival set. It was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It was just okay. So for whatever reason, earlier this year, I kind of took it upon myself to just kind of try to ask Fish to come play, every day on Twitter. And although that didn't have any bearing really on them coming, they chose to come. And they gave 2 shows, one in Austin, one in Grand Prairie, outside of Dallas, near Trey's hometown. And, they were good shows. Austin was good. Dallas, in my opinion, was a little bit better. Austin was really hot. Dallas was indoors and air conditioned, which was a good thing. But yeah, it's Fish. In my opinion, there's really no such thing as bad Fish. It's just good.
Right on. And Stephen, you're welcome back to the internet again, and you took a hiatus. What was it like to come back to Fish and then to be able to see them in in your state?
Well, just to do a quick jump, I went to see the Dead in Chicago, so I've had a busy summer. I got to see Trey in Chicago, and then I got to see Fish in Austin. So it's been a surreal experience, and since I've been watching Fish for the past 20 years. I never saw the Dead live, so there's always debate whether it's legitimately the Dead watching, but I thought it was the experience. It was just a surreal experience. So Austin, it was hot, like Burnham said. It was a phenomenal experience. I haven't seen him in Austin in a long time. So yeah, it's just been a great time.
And Zach, you traveled down there to see those shows. What was you traveled down to Texas? What was your takeaway, having not been there? You haven't been to Texas a lot, right?
My mother's from Corpus, and I used to travel to Houston quite a bit when I was in the oil business, back in my own 1.0 era. I actually, not a big fan of Texas politically and sort of, etc., other than Austin, but, I have to be honest, I had a great time. I only made the Dallas show, but I found the town, and we kind of had a little bit of a late night adventure. My crew didn't really go to sleep. We all had early morning flights, so it was one of those like fly in, get to town, have a great lunch, get to lot, take a shower, get to lot. The venue was incredible. Inside, 6,300 people, brand new, incredible sound. The parking lot was tiny, and it was just it had that southern sort of vibe, that kind of devil may care attitude in lot. People were smoking openly, drinking out of cans. Police presence was very low and I'm going to guess Austin was similar. It was almost like I was with Great Divided Sky, my good friend Arthur, and he was like, man, the cops have much bigger fish to fry, sort of thing. They're just letting us do our thing. So just the vibe going in, obviously it was hot, but it wasn't overbearing like Austin. And I think the excitement of, frankly, that was probably the fewest people I've seen fish with, less than 7,000 people for sure. And it was just fantastic. From the get-go, I forget what they opened with that night, maybe Tube?
Tube.
Yeah, Tube with Aguela, which was really excellent, not so common these days, and really well performed. And then within the first hour, there was a really great mellow jam out of Steam. And I think that Steam is a reflection of some of the freshness that the set lists are getting, particularly in the first set. We've seen Ghosts in the first set. We've seen Steam in the first set. We've seen one or two other jam vehicles pop in the first set. And I think that it just takes so little, I think, to break up a little of this ossification of the sets. And man, the feeling of jamming in the first set, it being in the pit, and realizing, whoa, these guys are not only playing Steam, but they're actually like extending it a bit, like got really everyone excited, built off the opening segment, which was Tube, Guella, and one other thing, I believe. And it was just sort of on from there. There was really great energy in the room. There was a bunch of, and this is something sort of alluded to today, which was that there were like these giant crowd bursts of energy, which you get at good shows, but I think it was like, hey Fish, thanks for coming back to Texas. We haven't seen you in Dallas for a while, and we're fucking pumped that you're here, and we're going to show it to you. And like, it was one of those moments where the crowd overwhelmed Trey, and he was about to start another song, but then took a step back to let them build it again, sort of like a Divided Sky pause, which I think there was a Divided Sky later that set.
Yep.
So those are the kinds of intangibles, not only just even a 3 or 4 minute little outro jam in Steam, which sounded great, by the way. Forget about the timing on it. But I think like that sort of thing, and these crowd swells of energy, which don't translate to tape. They don't really translate to webcasts and streams that well. They do translate, but just not as well. And man, it was just like, whoa, fucking Texas is pumped to see Fish, and now I'm pumped. So
yeah,
great. And I just thought I thought that Dallas show was really big. Obviously there was some expectation that I don't know if it's legitimate or not, but whether or not it's legitimate, there was this feeling that maybe Austin was like sort of a bit of a pause show, or a catch your breath, not going to super throw down. I thought it was a good show, and I listened to it. I didn't really, online, the first set was getting a lot of crap. So there was this kind of like, well, they sort of phoned in Austin. I don't believe that, but there was that feeling. Mm-hmm. And Dallas got the heater.
Yeah.
And people were definitely hating on Austin, or some people were hating on Austin online and whatnot. And having not been at the shows, just exclusively seeing that impression, other than hearing from a handful of people like yourself who were there, I disagreed. Generally, it was a songy show, but there's nothing wrong with that. Fish has a lot of damn songs. I think that overall, the kind of reassessment of the first set, maybe that's a connection with just Trey hanging out with Phil, who, once he got away from Grateful Dead, seemed to decide that, well, in my shows, first sets are going to jam too. And he does that quite a bit. And so maybe Trey's picking up on that idea that we should shake up the format and open with Prince Caspian, or the jams that you mentioned.
Yeah.
The Martian Monster, and then Down with Disease, and that was just totally different. But it went directly into what Zach was saying, I guess, like, it started in Bend. You know what I mean? Like, the whole first set shake-up being more than just song-based and actually maybe taking things out a little bit, that started happening right away. Bend 1 was a different first set, I thought, watching the webcast. I don't know if any of us were there here right now, but on this webcast. But the couch tour Bend was great, and I don't know about you guys, but I could feel from the first set things were different.
Hey, Stella.
You can't really you can't really see what exactly, or I can't really put my finger on it until now maybe, but you could tell this tour was going to be a little different, I thought.
Yeah, so the freshness, so like you guys, a lot of you mentioned that there's two main things, at least in my mind. There's the Fare Thee Well stuff, which obviously had a huge influence on Trey and the way he was practicing and I think playing, and then there's the new songs. So let's talk about both of those. I don't know anyone should feel free to just grab one of those topics if you have thoughts.
I'll talk about Fare Thee Well. I was there also. Steve, sorry I didn't see you there. Zach didn't see you there, but I think we can universally say that was a great time. But more important to this part of the conversation is that Trey was working hard leading up to that, and he not only did he work hard to learn the songs, but he made adjustments to his tone, his listening. I don't know about his listening, actually. I was going to say something about it, but it's really more about his give and take. It had to be different because he had to learn to do it with these different guys who have kind of a whole other language. It's similar, but it's like Portuguese or Spanish. It's not the same language, and it paid off great in Chicago, and it seems to be coming over. The other guys, they have. Whatever is driving them, it seems to be driving them, and you can really hear, the impact of all that work that Trey's put in, and collectively they're putting it down.
Yeah, just add on to that. Like, there's a difference between working really hard and then working really hard and sounding good. He was up there having a good time and yet still perfecting the sound that he was doing with all those songs. Like, he didn't go up there and look like, I got to do this perfectly. He was up there just having a good time and yet still still gelling with the band beautifully. I mean, it was just an amazing thing to see.
I think the first set of Santa Clara, he looked a little like he was working, but he really did settle right in, and I agree. He looked like he was on a blast up there.
Yeah.
I definitely think by the end, just a last thought on Fare Thee Well, I think by the end, like, Trey was definitely happier to lead, whereas the first few shows, definitely Santa Clara, and even the first night, Friday night in Chicago, I agree there was a new language, a new sort of vibe on stage, more people. He was being deferential to Bobby and Phil, and I think also there were moments when, like, not necessarily blown changes, but like songs would extend or segues would, and Trey had to get comfortable with a little bit more lackadaisical approach, not unprofessional, just a little bit. Hey, this is the Dead. This is the Dead. We're okay to have a couple of minutes to choose our next song and let everyone dial in. And I think by the end, I mean, he clearly was well practiced, and I think by Chicago, he was like, I know these riffs. I know I'm going to play the songs really well. And I think, somebody mentioned online, post Fare Thee Well, that, like, by the end, he was definitely doing more of the leading and that part of, like, realizing that a band does need a leader, that a band does need, not an ego, although that's part of it, but they do need somebody calling the shots and directing things. And there were times over Chicago, it didn't affect it negatively. There were times in Chicago where I think Trey was looking to Phil or Bobby to call the song or to end it or to close it out or to get back to the chorus or the refrain and finish things out. And like, nobody was doing it, and that's okay.
Right. In fact, there were points where they were pointedly refusing to do it, which was nice. So.
Yeah, it was almost like, no, Trey, we're not going to, we're going to purposefully leave it loose.
Yeah.
This is what we do. Yeah,
I mean, he's so much more, I don't know, the very, like, lack of music term would be locked in, but he seems to be so connected to everything that they're playing, which I think is pretty different from what we've heard over the past few years at times. And I guess that is just the practice, right? I mean, is there? Do you think that he picked? I mean, you can hear some of the riffs, like I feel like I hear "I Know You Rider" in like almost every jam coming out of it, right? But he's also got the pedal, and every song sounds like Shakedown Street, which is awesome. But but besides the practice, I mean, what do you think he took anything away from it? And I guess I want to just preface that question by saying that when I watched the last Fairly Well show in a theater the next day, I like came away with the feeling like Fish has a lot more ground to cover and a lot more opportunity and a lot more time. And I wonder if he took that away as well, in addition to obviously having practiced these songs and gotten much better at playing the guitar. So do you guys think that's something that has affected the band, or do you think they're just all playing really well right now?
Yes.
Sweet.
I sure hope so.
I think that you can hear at the beginning of this Fish tour a little bit more patience and Trey letting things develop, kind of